The hearse being positively illuminated by all those flashes.
Turning now by the Queen Victoria Memorial. Just about to reach the memorial, then turning right across the front of Buckingham Palace. And the truly enormous throng watching. Moving, I would say, Dermot, at about 10, 15 miles an hour, something of that sort.
Nothing more than that, yes. Now coming up Constitution Hill, just switching our camera position there. And
the long hall up to Hyde Park Corner.
Everywhere, people lining the route, 10, 20, 30, 40 deep. We just can't tell in this darkness. I doubt very much, Nick, if any of them are going to move tonight.
No, this is, as we should stress, the movement of the body of the Princess of Wales from St James's Palace to Kensington Palace, her London home. It's following at the moment the route that the funeral will take in the other direction tomorrow, but it won't stay on that route always. There will be a change after Hyde Park Corner. A single police motorcyclist in the front.
Nick, you say it's almost that route in reverse. Where exactly does it deviate from tomorrow's processional route?
Or when it reaches Hyde Park Corner, which it's about to do in another minute or so, instead of going into Hyde Park itself through the ornamental Queen Mother gates into the carriage road, as it's called, on the south side of Hyde Park, it will stick to the main highway, in other words turning into Knightsbridge, crossing. I would imagine it will go straight across Hyde Park Corner, where no other traffic is ever allowed, and then into Knightsbridge, and then head down into what is Kensington Road and straight towards the palace. As I say, tomorrow morning the route will be a little bit out of the way from that. It'll be along the carriageway in the park.
So just getting to the top of Constitution Hill now. Here's our camera at Hyde Park Corner. The hearse expected to appear at any moment now.
The blue flashing lights there holding back the tide of London's traffic. Not one single motorist in London tonight will mind being held up for this. This is not, of course, the funeral procession, but it certainly has the feel of it, Dermot.
It certainly does.
It's amazing that if you drive up Constitution Hill yourself, or you're in a taxi, it doesn't take very long, but this procession is just taking its steady time. There we are. You can see the Hyde Park Corner there, the Wellington Arch. Look at that sky. It's not quite dark, it's dusk. Just an amazing backdrop. Extraordinary backdrop, and a very few streetlights. We're seeing now one of our
colleagues on Channel 4 News,
4.
as you can.
There we are, Becky.
This is still Hyde Park Corner. Here comes the lone police outrider now with his blue flashing lights on.
That's in the advance guard. Here comes the actual. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when the Queen passed this way earlier today, she, of course, went straight through the Wellington Memorial.
Yes, they're sticking absolutely to the traffic rules on this occasion. There won't be tomorrow.
It's not the right angle.
The hearse containing the coffin of the Princess of Wales turning there into Knightsbridge on its way to Kensington Palace, where the Princess of Wales will rest tonight before the funeral begins tomorrow.
It's the Knightsbridge, the underpass there that leads to Piccadilly, on the just to the left of your picture. Traffic still moving on the other carriageway.
Some of those scenes in the crowd, Nick, speaking for themselves.
Yes. We've talked, haven't we, about the disbelief over this. I would imagine, standing on the street, there would still be disbelief, even with the coffin itself going past you. Scotch Corner, they call that for obvious reasons, the Scotch House there. And they'll bear slightly to the right and head off down Kensington Road towards Kensington Palace, which is now, well, at the pace they're going, I suppose, some 8 to 10 minutes away. Perhaps not as long as that. Difficult to tell. They are moving slowly. Get the impression they might be moving a little swifter on this section. I don't know, perhaps not.
Perhaps the crowds are a little lighter there. They were clearly giving people an opportunity to gathered outside the palaces, especially to pay their respects as the coffin went past. This is an aerial shot of Kensington, in Kensington Gore.
It's just the atmosphere, really, isn't it, of nighttime London and this extraordinary, this little cavalcade of vehicles, a sad little procession.
As you were saying, Nick, still 5-6 days on, so many people still unable to absorb the enormity of what has happened.
I think
the fact that it has happened.
Hearse is about to come, I think.
Well, there we have, yes, there we have the flashing light of that advanced motorcyclist.
This is Kensington Road we're looking along now, isn't it? Towards the palace is up at the top of your picture, or a bit further on than that.
And the Royal Albert Hall should be just up on the left.
Okay.
In case you've just joined us, we are looking at Kensington Road in London, along which the hearse bearing the coffin of Princess Diana is making its way. Left St James's Palace about a quarter of an hour ago, 10 minutes, quarter of an hour ago. Moved very slowly along the Mall, past Buckingham Palace. There are the crowds in Kensington, near Kensington Palace, I think, waiting for it. They've closed the road completely there. Just a vast number of people again. And there they are. There is the hearse. If it was moving quickly, it's slowed down again now. near the Albert Hall now. This is one place that the Princess was familiar with. She was a frequent attender of events, concerts there, one of them being the as I was saying, one of them being the huge Red Cross concert with Luciano Pavarotti in 1995. Pavarotti says he would be too upset to attend tomorrow's funeral. He was invited. Now the hearse moving to the outside. The traffic's been stopped on the left. Perhaps it's already stopped. The traffic in that area has been jammed up for days because of the vast numbers wanting to get to Kensington Palace.
We are told that the limousine immediately behind the hearse containing Princess Diana's coffin has Prince Charles and the Princes William and Harry in it. There the crowd surging forward as word spreads that the Princess is coming home,
And
to her home.
The people pouring across the road. They're moving in front of you. They're getting out of the way. The police motorcyclist flashing his light there. Can you see that? Get them out of the way. Don't get in our way. Not tonight. Not tonight. But London, look at that. People still crossing the road in front of them.
All the way down. Right, you can go.
There are flowers being thrown onto the hearse.
We're told that the princes in that car behind, they looked straight ahead, someone said, as they passed, not glancing at the crowds or the flowers or the candles, just looking at the car in front, the hearse in front, containing that coffin. We weren't able to see them earlier, we couldn't, it was dark of course, and this adds yet more poignancy to this occasion. Nothing about these last few days has been expected, Dermot. Nothing at all.
Who would have thought that London would have witnessed scenes like this?
Quite a lot of people, of course, won't have heard. This was certainly not scheduled. We knew about it from about mid-afternoon, but a lot of people, a lot of Londoners would not have been aware of it, and the word would have spread, no doubt, and a bit of puzzlement because everybody knows the funeral is tomorrow. But of course, the Princess's coffin had to be moved at some stage from St James's Palace. Better it done this way than in the very middle of the night without much in the way of an escort. That would not have been fitting, would it? So, a mass of police motorcyclists there.
And just there, the hearse just behind.
And as we say, behind that, a car containing the Prince of Wales and his sons.
Police there calling for people to move back. Many of them perhaps not knowing that the hearse was coming at this time. Word spreading, and we saw many of them rushing forward to get a better view.
Not far to go now. Not far to home.
flowers thrown in the path of the hearse. Look at those crowds.
Yes, we're just getting very close now. The large building you can see to your left, I think that will be where the hearse will turn.
So Nicholas, a right turn there through Palace Gates, then the last few hundred yards through Kensington Gardens to the palace itself.
Yes, a little private road there. And then you go along, I think it's about 200, 300 yards, and there's a police box at the end guarding the entrance to the palace. And so into the palace. There's just turning, you can just see the
roof of the hearse there.
Yes.
Prince Charles and Princes William and Harry in the car immediately behind, obscured there by those huge crowds.
Our camera hoping to get a glimpse through the railings there, but you can't really see. It's quite a long way through the gardens and they're dark. And the people, so many people. The police talk of millions tomorrow. Who can tell?
I don't think anyone will ever know an exact figure. There, the camera pulling back just to give some sense of the sheer numbers of people who have gathered there.
25 to 9 in the evening, Friday, September the 5th. Princess of Wales's coffin arrived back at Kensington Palace, the home she was allowed to keep after losing her HRH title.
This was, of course, the family home before the divorce in 1992.
And let's not forget, it's the home of the boys, or has been the home of the boys, William and Harry. The road completely swamped now with people.
No indication a road actually exists there.
No.
No doubt the crowd buzzing, absorbing, talking to each other about what they've just seen.
Bewildering, really, that we've all been through this week, and now we have this, and then tomorrow we will have the morning to see the full funeral and the final drive way up into Northamptonshire. The princess to be buried on that island now. It's been decided on an island on the Althorpe estate in the middle of an ornamental lake.
Well, as we leave those crowd scenes just outside Kensington Palace, let's get the view on the ground there. Our reporter, Mark Webster, is there, just outside Kensington Palace. Mark, can you put words to the scene you have just witnessed?
It's extraordinarily difficult, isn't it? What I can say is the great grieving tide of humanity here seemed to hold their breath collectively as the hearse went by. There was barely a sound, just the flash of flashbulbs going off. I think as you can still see some of the twinkling candles in the background as a backdrop. And I think everybody wanted their own private thought as the hearse went these last few hundred yards up here, turned right up the private road to Kensington Palace itself. As you rightly said, where Diana had so many happy and so many sad moments in the past, and where she'll now spend this night with her coffin there in the palace before tomorrow's funeral.
Mark, just give us some sense of the sheer size of the crowds there. We saw Kensington Road there absolutely obscured by people. I can see hundreds and hundreds of people behind you. Any kind of estimates about how many people are there?
I can only say countless thousands, Dermot. They came slowly pouring with the greatest dignity, the greatest kindness. There was no pushing, no shoving, no unpleasantness. This was the crowd, which really was united in its purpose. And as they came down here, they were obviously desperate to look. There were children on parents' shoulders. But as I say, what was most extraordinary, what's perhaps most touching about this whole scene, is the relative silence. It has been just that. This has not been an occasion for shouting or gesticulating. It has been an occasion for quiet thought, a bit of contemplation, and obviously sharing their feelings together, which is clearly terribly important for this crowd. That one of the reasons they've come here is because they have one single person in their thoughts. And I think that's the feeling that I got here, because it was an extraordinarily intense, emotional feeling as that hearse went past, one we all felt.
Mark, thank you very much indeed. Well, just let me ask Ronald Allison, the Queen's former press secretary, for his thoughts.
Well, thinking back to one of the things that the Queen said earlier this evening, when she said that nobody who knew Diana would ever forget her, and the millions who